Imagine being a hungry little girl at school, opening your lunchbox every day, only to find it empty because someone took your food. That's exactly what happened to little Aliyah, a sweet, quiet girl who loved peanut butter sandwiches and apples. Aliyah looked forward to lunchtime. But for weeks, her food kept disappearing before she could even take a bite. At first, she thought maybe she had forgotten to pack it. But then, she started noticing a pattern. The same teacher, Miss Carter, strict and always watching, would call her up to the front of the class right before lunch. And by the time Aliyah returned to her seat, her lunch was gone, every single day. She told her mom, but at first it sounded too crazy to believe. A teacher stealing a child's lunch. But Aliyah's mom knew her daughter wasn't lying. So one day she decided to test it out. She packed something special in Aliyah's bag, something that would reveal the truth once and for all. When lunchtime came, Aliyah felt nervous but excited. Would today be different? Would she finally get to eat her lunch? Or would Miss Carter take it again, this time walking straight into a trap? What happened next left the entire school speechless and exposed a shocking secret no one saw coming. Aliyah sat frozen at her desk, watching Miss Carter out of the corner of her eye. The teacher went on with her day as if nothing had happened, but Aliyah knew better. Something about that note had rattled her. When the final bell rang, Aliyah hurried outside where her mom was waiting by the car. The moment she got in, her mom asked, "Did she take it?" Aliyah nodded, and the note too. Her mom's face tightened. She had expected the lunch to disappear, but the note, that was something else. "Did you see her read it?" Aliyah hesitated, then whispered she looked scared. That night, her mom sat at the kitchen table, deep in thought. Why would a teacher, someone trusted with children, be taking a student's lunch every day? It didn't make sense. And if the note had scared her, that meant she knew she had been caught. The next morning, Aliyah's mom decided it was time to take action. But before she could reach the school, something unexpected happened. At lunchtime, Aliyah was called to the office. The principal was waiting, his face unreadable. Miss Carter stood beside him, arms crossed. And sitting on the desk in front of them was Aliyah's lunchbox, open, empty, and next to it, the crumpled note. Aliyah's stomach twisted as she stood in the office. The principal's eyes moved between her and Miss Carter, but his expression remained unreadable. The room felt too quiet, too still. "Do you know why you're here, Aliyah?" the principal finally asked, his voice calm but firm. She glanced at Miss Carter, whose jaw was tight, her arms crossed as if she were holding something in. Aliyah shook her head. The principal sighed, tapping his fingers against the desk. "Miss Carter found this note in your lunchbox," he said, picking up the crumpled paper. "Do you know what it says?" Aliyah's throat felt dry. She shook her head again. Miss Carter suddenly spoke, her voice sharp. "It was inappropriate," she said quickly. "A student shouldn't bring messages like this to school." Aliyah blinked in confusion. What? That wasn't true. Her mom had told her what the note said. It was simple, just a few words. Asterisk, asterisk, I know what you've been doing. Asterisk, asterisk. The principal didn't seem convinced by Miss Carter's words. He unfolded the note and read it silently again, then looked at Aliyah. "Your mom is waiting outside," he said. "I think it's best if we all have a conversation together." Miss Carter stiffened, her fingers gripping her arms even tighter. Aliyah saw something flicker in her eyes, panic, and in that moment she knew the truth was about to come out. Aliyah's heart pounded as she followed the principal into the hallway. Just outside the office, her mom stood with her arms crossed, her face unreadable. But Aliyah knew that look. Her mom wasn't just angry. She was ready for answers. Miss Carter hesitated before stepping out. For the first time, she looked uneasy, as if she wanted to be anywhere but here. The principal motioned for everyone to sit. "I think we need to clear up a few things," he said, setting the crumpled note on the table. Miss Carter, you said this message was inappropriate, but it doesn't seem that way to me. In fact, it sounds like someone is concerned. Miss Carter straightened, her fingers twitching slightly. This is a misunderstanding, she said quickly. I don't know why Alia's mother would send a note like this, but I packed my daughter's lunch every day. Alia's mom cut in, her voice firm. And every day it disappeared. Now tell me, Miss Carter, where did it go? Miss Carter opened her mouth, then closed it. The room went silent. Then the principal spoke. Actually, I already know. He reached into his desk and pulled out something, a small, blurry image printed on paper. Alia leaned in. It was an photo ***. Miss Carter's face went pale. The principal set it down on the table. This was taken yesterday, outside the staff lounge. Alia's mom picked it up, eyes narrowing. And then she saw it, ***, Miss Carter, holding Alia's lunch, walking into a back room, where a small child was waiting ***. Miss Carter's hands trembled as she stared at the photo. The room felt frozen, the weight of the truth pressing down on everyone. Alia's mom gripped the picture tighter, her eyes locked onto the image. You were stealing my daughter's lunch, for someone else, she said, her voice low but steady. Miss Carter finally spoke, but her voice was barely a whisper. I didn't have a choice. The principal folded his hands together. Miss Carter, do you want to explain? A deep sigh escaped her lips, and for the first time, the strict, cold teacher looked broken. It's my nephew, she admitted. He's only 4. My sister, his mother, left a few months ago. My brother-in-law lost his job, and there's barely enough food at home. I tried to help, but I couldn't afford to feed him every day. Alia's mom blinked, her grip on the picture loosening. Miss Carter swallowed hard. I know it was wrong. I know I should have asked for help. But I saw Alia's lunches, so neatly packed, always with a little note or a treat, and I thought just 1 meal a day, just until things got better. Silence filled the room. Alia looked up at her mom, expecting anger, but instead, there was something else, understanding. Finally, her mom let out a slow breath. You should have told someone, she said. You didn't have to steal from a child. Miss Carter nodded, tears forming in her eyes. I know. The principal sighed. This still has consequences, Miss Carter, but maybe we can find another way. He turned to Alia's mom. Would you be open to discussing a solution? Alia's mom hesitated, then looked at her daughter, who nodded slightly. Let's talk, she said. And just like that, the story didn't end in anger, but in something no one expected. Compassion. The office felt different now, not as tense, not as cold. Alia watched as her mom and the principal spoke in hushed voices, trying to find a solution. Miss Carter sat quietly, wiping her eyes, no longer the strict, untouchable teacher Alia had always known. In the end, the decision wasn't about punishment, it was about making things right. Miss Carter would be placed on leave, but instead of losing her job, the school would help connect her family to resources. The principal promised to work with local programs to ensure her nephew had food. As Alia and her mom walked out of the office, she felt lighter, but there was still one thing on her mind. Mom, she asked softly, are you mad? Her mom glanced down, then placed a hand on Alia's shoulder. No, baby, she said. I'm sad. Sad that someone had to steal because they felt like they had no choice. She sighed. But I'm also proud of you for noticing, for speaking up, and for caring, even after everything. That night, as Alia packed her lunch for the next day, she did something different. She grabbed an extra sandwich and put it in a separate bag. The next morning, before class started, she slipped it onto Miss Carter. Her mom glanced down, then placed a hand on Alia's shoulder. No, baby, she said. I'm sad. Sad that someone had to steal because they felt like they had no choice. She sighed. But I'm also proud of you for noticing, for speaking up, and for caring, even after everything. That night, as Alia packed her lunch for the next day, she did something different. She grabbed an extra sandwich and put it in a separate bag. The next morning, before class started, she slipped it onto Miss Carter's desk. No note, no words, just a small act of kindness. Because sometimes the best way to change a story is to end it with a little bit of heart.